Hi, on this episode we're talking to my new friend and a co-host of the BiG Scuba Podcast, Ian Last. Do you fancy a brew? From his home in the southeast of England, I talked to Ian about his love and his passion for scuba diving and his volunteer work as a dive master at his local dive centre in Norwich. Over a brew, we then discuss him and co-host Gemma's work on the BiG Scuba Podcast and how they've managed to bag themselves some of scuba diving's elite adventurers and storytellers and face the negative aspects of life in the public eye and still remain positive. So grab yourself a brew, sit back and enjoy. So what tea are you drinking?
PG Tips.
Is it? Good lad. Yeah, pyramid bags, mate, only the best ones. So obviously, Ian, me and you met via the social media platforms that we're using. Me so much on YouTube, you doing the podcast and that. And I came across you when we were down at the dive show, and we sort of developed a good friendship and whatnot from there. Do you want to just explain to people who haven't come across you or your podcast a little bit about you?
Certainly, yeah. So my name's Ian. I am from the BiG Scuba Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is called A Big Chat. I honestly couldn't talk about me for 2 minutes. But there isn't that much to tell, to be honest with you. There's not that much. You know, what's the highlights is that I'm a dad first to Harvey and Honey.
Yeah.
I run my own garden and landscaping business, which is only running at, I suppose, about 80% at the moment because of the lockdown and what have you.
Yeah.
Been diving since 2014. Volunteer dive master since end of 2016 with Crystal Seas in Norwich, who are a really good dive centre. Single and ready to mingle. Single, ready to mingle.
The reason I asked you to get your computer is so we can have a look at your surface interval. That's not to see if you've been cheating and going diving while we've been off. Well, I've been out the water 70 days, mate. How horrendous is that? What is your surface interval, Ian Last?
Don't know how long. I've turned on for a long while. 168 days.
Bloody hell. Do you not dive in the winter at all?
I last dived would have been 24th of November.
Wow.
It's the last time I dived. Generally, I don't dive over the winter. As much as I love diving, the thought, it just doesn't really get me excited. Although now, if someone said to me, go up there, I'd go up there in a heartbeat, But back in over the winter.
Yeah. You want to name drop a couple of your guests that you've had on and highlights of what they've talked about?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So the ones I can tell you about at the moment are, so we started off with 3 lovely girls from the Girls at Scuba. So we had Scuba Grace, look out for her, May and Inca. If you look on our podcast, look up episode 4 on there and you'll find them all and all their details. So look out for them. They're great ambassadors for the sport of scuba diving. Mm-hmm. Followed up with them, we had Werty. Werty's an instructor from Norwich. And I was lucky enough to be a dive master on a couple of courses with her, and also she's now an instructor. Hope to be her dive master as well at some stage, Andy Torbett was with us. He was a really great guest for 3 episodes, listening to all the different things that Andy had been involved in.
I suppose you could have had him on for 10 episodes. He's done that.
Oh, he's done loads. He's done loads, hasn't he? What hasn't he done? It's just brilliant. He was a great guy and great guest. And he was, brilliant, especially for someone like us, because we're at the start of all this, we aren't anybody. So that was really good of him to come on and give us a little bit of his time. And Christina, nothing short of awesome. She's just been brilliant, and loved having her on and learned loads. And there's another episode with Christina coming out with Christina talking about cave diving. Okay. And also we had John Chatterton, which has been brilliant. Learned, again, it's fascinating hearing, John talking about some of his dives that he's done.
U-boat was pretty phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And they called it U-Who because they didn't know who it belonged to. And that was Hitler's missing U-boat.
Should it? Nobody knew it was going to be there. It shouldn't have been.
No. Well, unless you was actually on board, it's hard to know what's going on.
Yeah.
We don't know at that stage in the war, because it was quite late in the war. They might have been saying, right, stuff this. Let's go to America. Let's see the war out as prisoners of war in America. If you had to see the war out at that time, where's the best place to go? America.
Yeah.
if you wanted to go somewhere.
America.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, but there's so many things that he's done. You could easily just get lost, and the fact that we only had him for a short period of time, we had to sort of drill down the focus for only a couple of the things that he's done, because he's just done so many. We talk about our guests, we talk to them, and then as we get out of the lockdown period, we'll be looking at Gemma's way of going through the open water training. So as we develop the podcast, will be about Gemma's journey, and that will be on our YouTube channel, which is called A Big Chat. And also some of my experiences as a dive master, you'll see on A Big Chat as well. The lockdown has certainly encouraged more people to do Zooming and Skyping. And
funny you say that, because over the last few days, we're trying to develop what we're doing here. I've been looking at better cameras. I can't find anything. There's nothing available. Everyone's bought everything. Amazon, you can normally click now and it'll arrive this afternoon. There's nothing. So everyone must be trying to do something, even if it is just converse with their friends or neighbours or family.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there to help us do a better what we're doing.
I know, and it is. I've noticed exactly the same thing. We looked into. We've got a small microphone which works really well for when you're actually sitting around a microphone talking. You can link it up and use it as a Skype type microphone. They're not the best for that, but they do work all right for it if you really want it. But to be honest with you, the quality that we've had just using the microphones on the laptop and the camera have been all right. It's been okay, and it's probably something we'll probably get into as to build up the podcast and the YouTube channel. But you kind of have to think, right, okay, where do you put your money? Because you're paying for the upkeep of the website, the podcast, other subscriptions, things like that. By the time you go spend more money on a microphone and a good one, you've got to spend 100 quid for a half decent one. Then you're looking at a decent webcam. It all adds up, doesn't it?
Anyone, even with a decent smartphone, can go around, video the cat running around or whatever, and upload that to YouTube, and that's free, and you don't really need to care. But when you're doing something like what we are doing, obviously my line is more scuba tutorials and little films about going scuba diving, whereas yours is very much interviewing, talking about the recent news and what's going on, and following Gemma's development as a diver. Yours has certainly got more cost implications, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Financial rather than time. They're both very much time consuming.
I can't believe how much time it's soaking up. It is like another job, but the only thing is we're not getting no return, or very little return, although we've got some Patreons. Even so, that's not covering all the costs, definitely. And that's fine. Never set out for this,
I agree.
For that to be like big money spinner and things like that. Lovely, be great, but won't be giving up the day job just yet. Put it that way.
Do you not find it massively disheartening when you spend not only money, which is kind of, you've spent it, it's gone because you've already earned it, but it's then you're spending late nights or all day or all weekend when you could be with your friends, with your family. You could be diving if we were allowed out. You could be doing something else with your time. And then you sit there, you develop a product, whether that be for me a video or you a podcast. And I remember the first couple of thumbs down that I got, they almost broke me. I only got one or two, but I'm thinking, does that person who's giving me a thumbs down, what are they thinking? Are they thinking I'm a complete knob? Are they thinking I've said something wrong? Or are they jealous that I've got off my arse and done something with my life? I don't know, because you don't leave a comment.
You could have thumbs down for all sorts of reasons, right? Yeah. And you only got to look on the big players on YouTube, right? National Geographic, right? You go on a National Geographic video, right? And they are some of their videos, and they have been taken by some of the best underwater photographers in the world, and they have spent weeks, months out there in the freezing cold, and they spent an absolute fortune uploading that photo, those videos, right?
Not to mention the hardware they've got already. There's probably 20 grand's worth of camera and stuff in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're up there. They're in the top. They go. And you look on their YouTube, and they've probably got, I don't know, let's say 50,000 views, and you look, and they've got 2,500 thumbs up, and they've got 500 thumbs down, and you're always going to have it. Yeah. And it's almost like in some ways a kind of measurement, really, to keep you grounded. Because if all you had was like all these really great thumbs up and all these really great comments and feedback, you'd almost kind of be losing reality a little bit, because you think, well, that is that, but you kind of need some thumbs down as well, and you need people to say to you, you know what, that video you done was really good. You could actually make that better by doing maybe this or something like that, or you're kind of sending the wrong message. You just need to tweak it a little bit. So you do need some people to actually give you some constructive feedback. And everyone has an opinion. Yeah. Everyone's got an opinion, and that is absolutely fine. But there's a good way of doing it, a positive way of giving some feedback, and even constructive feedback. And then there's another way of doing it when the haters are out there pointing their finger and going, "You're this and you're that, and you'll never do no good," and all that. All it does is go, "Do you know what? Thanks for that. Because
step up.
That's all I need to show you wrong."
Yeah.
And some people have done some really well. And you look at some of the YouTubers and what have you, and they've done brilliantly. But when you actually look and you actually get to know their story, some of them have really put the time in, have really sort of made commitments and stuff, do that. And the only way I think organically to get anywhere in the YouTube world, podcast world, or anything like that, is by approaching it with a positive outlook, that you're going to have to be committed. You're going to have to put time in. You can't just throw money at stuff and go, right, I'm going to have this piece of equipment. It's really expensive. It's going to be really whizzy. But then if the content is not particularly interesting, and the conversation is not particularly interesting, you might get a few likes and shares and a few followers. That won't last, not long term. You've got to put your heart and soul into something, and unfortunately people will either like it or they won't, for whatever reason it is.
I think we've been very lucky to have the outlet that me and you both have, and to have fallen across each other, because obviously we've been bouncing stuff off each other for weeks now. For those of you who don't know, me and Ian came across each other, or I came across you before you came across me.
You found me.
As it, I saw the weekend we were going to the dive.
There he is.
Yeah, that was it. So the weekend we were going to the dive show, on the Saturday, you messaged Claire Dutton saying, "Hi Claire, would you be up for doing an interview with the BiG Scuba Podcast?" And at that time, wasn't really listening to podcasts at all. And then obviously came across that. I then spoke to Claire. I did a little video for her with her in it and that, and then progressed into having listened to podcasts, came across you, and thought, in my aspirations to get better at doing YouTube, I started watching some videos. And one of the tips that the guy was giving was that you need to really collaborate with not so much your competitors, but collaborate with people of a similar ilk. You can both benefit.
Yeah.
So thanks for the numerous shout outs on your podcast. So hence,
that's right. It'll carry on. We'll do that. Yeah. I apologise in advance, because generally I forget, and then Gemma will be going shout outs. I mean,
It's not like I'm paying for it. So if you drop me in there ever, thanks very much. I'm happy with that. But hence the reason I wanted to get you on here, because we've had a few conversations and see where both of us can improve in different ways. And
it's a grounding, of, we are starting at ground zero. We have no followers, no supporters, nothing, right? I don't know about you, but we had people saying, you can't do this and you will never do it and all
You're
that.
not selling the
We had
unnegative
that.
points.
Huh?
You're not selling the unnegative points there. You just highlighted them all.
But it's true. I'm just being honest. And the point of it is, you're always going to have people tell you you can't do something, and you can, and you, no matter what. It's not just podcasting. You're always going to have people say to you, and it doesn't matter who they are. There's friends, family, whatever. You have to. I think as long as you approach a project like what we're doing in a positive, open-minded, and you just go with it, and you say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I've got this idea. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to run with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be open to it to evolve, because you might start off with a goal and think, right, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. But after a little while, you might think, well, actually, I'm just going to deviate a little bit, So you got to give yourself the space to evolve, network, meeting good people, positive people, as you say, same ilk, that to help spread the message is all really good, and then you just basically you build. You don't limit yourself. You don't say, do you know what, if I get to this, I'll be really happy. No, you just keep going. That's the thing. Open-minded, positive thinking.
I think that evolution thing, I 100% get that through running my own business as well.
Yeah.
That what I started off doing day one, it's kind of been like a roller coaster. I've done certain things, enjoyed them for a while, made some money on them for a while, and then either lost interest or they've become less lucrative. So you change, don't you? Go, so you'll drop them a little bit, something, another skill up perhaps. So much like us, where we were talking earlier, where your kit and equipment are perhaps not as important as your content. So if you've got some good content that people are interested in, the next step to improve that is making it look visually better. So you've got some lighting, a better camera.
Yeah, definitely.
But
definitely.
The startup costs are very similar to a business, perhaps not as big. Certainly for us, you need a van and mowers and insurance and all the rest of it. Whereas
you just got to keep them minimum.
And then as soon as it either gets a following or you get some sponsorship as such, you can pick that up. I think there's quite a lot of transferable skills from running a business to being a parent to running a social media campaign, if that's the phrase. Yeah. So it is quite an interesting thing. What do you find hardest to deal with? Is it the people that we talked about earlier that might have given you some negativity? Or the voices in your own head?
Unfortunately, I don't have voices in my head. I only have tinnitus. But that's a constant, unfortunately. But I don't have voices in my head or anything like that. I just know what I want and where I'm going, roughly. And I suppose where I'm a bit more fortunate on the podcast front than yourself, I suppose, is that I've also got Gemma. To batten ideas with, and Gemma to be, and genuinely, absolutely, without a shadow of doubt, probably one of the most positive and nicest people I know. Even when not at the most positive of times at the start of this year when we're getting this going, still we're seeing the best in people and stuff, and that's the skill. Having her on this podcast it's going to be a big part to play, as she starts to dive and all these sort of stuff, which I know she's going to love. She keeps me organized, really, because I'll come up with different ideas and stuff like that. I've got ideas here, there, and everywhere, and she's like, maybe park that one. We'll put that on the spreadsheet, right? And that kind of then we'll think of something else. And she's now really developing as well, which is really great. And it is good having somebody to batten ideas back and forward to each other, especially when you're both involved, both committed to the time and the rest of it. I think it's harder when it's just you, and if you don't do it, it's not going to get any. I think that's really hard. And two, I think hats off to you for sticking with it and doing it. That's not easy.
No.
That ain't easy, and me and Gemma have mentioned, we've talked about what you do, and we both totally, think, well, That's why we like giving you support, because we know how hard it is, and you're doing that on your own, so to speak, although with your wife's support as well.
I guess I've been like that for the last 10 years, running my business. My daughter works with me.
Yeah.
But it's my business. It's me running it.
Yeah.
She is literally, in the best possible way, just someone who turns up for work.
Yeah.
And I struggle, I think, to let go of things because it won't be done either exactly as I want it, or it won't be what I want at the end of it. Because
I get that.
Evolution, my creativity, loosely termed, would take it a different direction, and perhaps someone else would, and I wouldn't be happy. Whereas I'm equally in admiration for anyone such as yourself and Gemma that can work in a partnership like that. I would really struggle, although I don't struggle in my marriage, which is a partnership. We work for the same goals and interests.
Yeah.
It's somewhat different, isn't it? I can't put my finger on it. Can you explain to me what is a dive master within the dive world? You being from PADI and me being from BSAC, we're slightly different sides of the fence, but equal.
I really enjoy it. I have to say, I do, and I wish, and I haven't ruled out going to be an instructor. I haven't, and I think the time will come when I think, you know what, I really need to step up here on the instructor level. Will be when I stop learning as a dive master. The dive master role, I've been doing it now 2 or 3 years, and we interact with the people. So although, yes, I can talk to people about some of the skills, I can talk to them about, their fears and worries. So, everybody rocks up on at Stony on a Saturday morning, and they're like, oh, not quite sure what's going on, blah, blah, blah. The instructor's got their mind going on. They're thinking, right, I've got to get this course ready and stuff. They're in that zone. The dive master, he's that person who's in the middle. So there's a good liaison point between student and instructor.
So that role model, come big brother, come mentor.
Always role model.
Yeah.
Okay, so same as an instructor, correctly kitted up, correct behaviour, because your students, and that can be someone from, we've had someone who's like 12, 13, right through to people who are pensioners, and they're coming for their open water, and they don't know what to expect.
No.
They've been Stony or a dive site or anything like that before. They don't know what to expect, and it's a busy time. It's a busy weekend. And they're even, and you can see it's almost like rabbit eyes in the headlamps type of thing. Whereas they're like, oh, what's going on? I remember that. I remember what that's like.
Yeah.
And so I see myself as like the hand holder a little bit, and just, everything right. Yeah, you've got your stuff right. You need to be here. Don't go anywhere. Instructors there. Let me introduce you. And things like that. And we then their helper, they're their go-to, because sometimes, especially for the younger ones, sometimes they might look at the instructor, or I don't know whether I can ask him, I should really know this, but I don't really.
You're more so like a familiar face to them, someone
a little bit, and I see it as though we are more of a, I see it as a more of a helper. I'm quite happy being called a helper. I'm there, help with gear, help stuff up, anything to reinforce where somebody's not quite sure.
Yeah.
Those sort of stuff, and do stuff in the pool where, you still do some of the bits and pieces in the pool, for somebody to come for a try dive, things like that. And it's good. And I really like the interaction with the people. It's all right having a card to say, yes, you're a dive master, but you're counting on your experience and stuff. And I'm still learning every time I'm a dive master, and I Polly Wake, who runs Crystal Seas in Norwich, she is top of the game when it comes to diving and instructing. Brilliant. Lovely lady. Totally recommend Crystal Seas Norwich. Polly's got a lovely way with people, and I'm often her dive master. And we've had all sorts, come and we hand out. They're there's a way of dealing with people and getting them through the courses. And a good liaison with people is really good, you know, if you can do that.
With being a dive master then, what would perhaps be the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? You must have a story as being a dive master. Naming no names, no shames.
No. Well, the funniest thing that happened was that I got an award at the last Christmas dinner for jumping in with my dry suit wide open.
Wow.
You know? And did first this time, well, it's been a year ago now, on the first dive of the brand new season, and you know, just totally concentrating on everybody else, and you do the usual thing of quickly chuck your gear on, because you know you've got to get everybody ready and geared up, and you know, I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about everybody else, and just chuck the gear on and totally forgot to get something to zip me in.
Wow.
And I jumped in, and so did the water. And I was like, and I had my brand new thermals on. I was lovely and snug, you know, and it was just like great.
Devastating.
Yeah, and I literally had to get on so my suit was filled up with water nearly up to my waist. Right?
Really?
Yeah, I was literally.
Your legs were like that.
Yeah, I was clinging on the side of the quay at Stony Cove, right?
Wow.
There's no buoyancy. I was just filling up. Oh, that was it, you know. And I was clambering my way along the edge of the wall. Polly was in the water by this stage. I was her DM with a load of students. Look at me going, what's he doing? Next minute, I managed to clamber up the quay, and luckily somebody had helped me. And I was laying on my back. Somebody lifted my legs up because I couldn't. Honestly, they were so heavy because of all the water.
Yeah.
And they had to lift my legs up, get all the water to pour out down my back.
Bloody hell.
Right. Well, all the students and I in there.
Howling.
Then I had to de-kit on the quay, kit up again, and I'm jump in and do the first open water.
Well, that's a way to unsettle a couple of nerves, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And it's just one of them things, you know. You just
got to laugh it off, haven't you? As I was qualifying as an advanced diver, I had to run a 2-day expedition to Anglesey. So we booked this boat with this guy, Degsy. He's really well known in that corner of the world. He turns up on this boat. It's called the Interceptor. It looks like something off a Chuck Norris film. So he's got a big beard, bandana on, big burly guy. And he knows that underwater world there better than I know the back of my hand, like, yeah. And so we all pile on, and one of my very, very good mates is on this dive boat. And then when we got in, Andy, my dry suit's open. Now, so you know, there's like 2 zips across the front, isn't there? One that houses the other. So I've swum over to him thinking it's only open this much, I'll get it sorted. So I've got hold of his plastic zip, move that right up so I can get my hand in and find his brass zip to snap it shut.
Yeah.
Put my hand inside, that was his only zip. I grabbed his tummy. So I'd done that and just fully opened his dry suit. Can you imagine that? And he's like, cheers for that. So he sacked it, got back on the boat. So I cannot stress the importance for a buddy check. Know every single bit of what your mate's kit is, even his. Yeah. Well, that brings me quite nicely on to my next question then. So you as an inspiration in some respects, as in with the BiG Scuba Podcast, you know, you're influencing people with different guests that you've got on and whatnot.
Yeah.
And obviously a dive master, so you are an influence and a mentor in many respects to the new up and coming divers. Yeah. What would be your top 3 skills or points of advice that you'd give to someone? For instance, like Gemma now, she's coming in through the PADI certification scheme.
Yeah.
Never really done an open water dive other than perhaps a couple of try dives in the pool or whatnot. What would be your 3 key pieces of advice or knowledge that they should sort, or skill set that they should try to improve?
I've got 3 things I can say. I'm not quite sure what category you'd slot them into. One, it's about fun and social. So, you know, the whole point of it is fun, and you know, you got to try and enjoy it. If you're not enjoying that, why are you doing it? That's probably one. Second one is keep it simple. It's one of the things I've learned from the people who I spoke to, the that's come clear all the way through my diving experiences, and the instructors who I've learned with and dive with, spoke to, have all said to me, keep it simple. And and that is absolutely right. You know, you do see that where things go wrong. I think it's because you've either tried to load too much into a dive or whatever. So whatever you do, just keep it simple. And the third one, I would probably say, don't rush. It's very easy when you start out as a diver and you look at the levels of what you can do, and you think, wow, you know, I can be an instructor. Some people do rush through it, you know, for whatever reason, you know, that they're doing that. Is try not to just go bang, 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 bang with courses, but actually, you know, learn, get dives in, because a lot of the diving is all about experiences. Yes, you can get a course which will teach you how to do better buoyancy and things like that, but a lot of it is all down to just getting in the water, stay safe, stay within the boundaries and limits of what you've been trained and certified to do, and just enjoy it and just get in the water and dive, you know. And those other things will come at the right time.
I think there's some really good points there, mate. You know, if you've got friends in there, you're going to have fun, aren't you? If you're doing the kind of diving, you're going to, and that was always the inspiration about me doing the YouTube thing, helping people to do the kind of diving they want to do.
Yeah.
I always felt held back by a certain group, and then I found another group that kind of helped me progress down that route. So kept it social, learned along the way, and then to consolidate that training by just going diving in different scenarios, whether it be in a river or a current, or deeper, or longer, or with different kit configurations, and try and experiment and find what the kind of thing I wanted to do, and then go down that route, you know, of speciality courses or specifics, perhaps. So obviously we're filming this during lockdown, so your time is kind of spread, trying to keep a business afloat. Like you said, being a dad to your children, running this podcast,
embarrassing them on Facebook Live.
Yeah. Getting hammered by me on here to do this. So how do you find the time when we weren't on lockdown to do, obviously you do CrossFit, don't you?
CrossFit, gym.
You're at the gym, single guy, so probably out there mingling and whatnot. So
no, not that much really. Not as much as I used to, put it that way.
So that's probably where you find the time then. But how do you find the time to do all the things that...
I don't sleep.
See, I think, you know, you had Andy Torbett on the other day, or a couple of weeks ago. I followed him for quite some time on Instagram and stuff. And his life looks so busy compared to mine. And mine's non-stop. Honestly, I bet I'm in bed for 5 hours, and 3 of them I feel like I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And I often wonder either of two things. What you see on Instagram or social media clearly is not a proper snapshot of the truth, is it? Because you can take 100 photographs and post them over 100 days, but you can take them in a couple of days, can't you? So it looks like you're always doing something, but you're not. But I often wonder how people manage such busy lives that with aspirations to only be busier. Because if your podcast really takes off, or my YouTube really takes off, how can I manage what else I'm doing? So being good at being a married man, being good at running my own business.
It's a nice problem to have.
It could be a flipping nightmare. So
well,
how do you balance your time?
I guess we're kind of lucky that we are bosses of our own time, and I don't have, I worked for a bank years ago in a call centre, and I wouldn't say it was one of the call centres where you had to stick your hand up, go to the toilet, but it wasn't far off. And you were, you're constrained by your time and where you are the whole time. So, with my work, I am fairly flexible. That said, you still got to get your work done and jobs done and stuff like that. So generally, I don't know, you just kind of fit it in, don't you, really? And I think with that come a point where you think, well, you know what, I've got so much going on. Well, you have to remember, this is just a hobby, not your work. and until such time the podcast and stuff like that can actually provide some kind of return, because it certainly doesn't, then it has to remain a hobby, and have to put your work first. Everything else comes first.
Do you give yourself sort of time limits? So I'm going to devote 2 hours of my day.
I wish I was that organised.
Really?
I'm sure Gemma does. Gemma has to-do lists, spreadsheets, and things like that, because she's super organised, and she's good with that. I'd be lying if I say I don't. Honestly, I don't. I've got a diary on my phone somewhere, and apparently that works. I must give it a try sometime.
So what are your next steps as a diver, bearing in mind the next 12 months as a traveller might be sort of hard work, but where do you see you as a diver going?
Well, a lot of it all depends on, when these restrictions are all lifted, because at the minute, none of us are going anywhere at the minute, but I certainly won't be going abroad, not until vaccines and, all these checks they're all done, and we know who you're sitting, so it's all safe. But let's say let's say things don't change that much, apart from we can now go and dive in the UK. Let's say we're allowed to go dive.
Yeah. Then
that'll be a case of get Gemma on the open water, get her done, and then it's going to be right. Let's get out and let's go get wet and dive and try different places.
My very last question: what do you get from being underwater?
I think it's fair to say relaxation, peace, just chilling out. I just love it. Obviously, there's the murky, dark times when you're in a murky pond.
Yeah.
But I can think of. I've said this before loads of times. I'm sure I have. When you go to somewhere like Stony Cove and it's all murky and it's cold, it's 10 degrees and what have you. That's great, and that's really great training and stuff. Then you go to somewhere like the Red Sea and it's warm, and you just jump in and you're having a bimbo out, and it's lovely. Fish are all colours, and there's a dolphin, and there's noises, and you're just like, I'm in a dreamland here. This is just awesome.
Yeah.
And that's why we dive. And you'll see these people who've been fortunate to go to Galapagos and stuff like that, where they'll see whales and hammerheads and stuff. And you think, that's just awesome to be able to do that, to have them skills where you could just jump in and go see and just admire the wildlife and see how they are, what they're doing. Like Stony, just seeing the pike, they're seeing the great big pike zoom around, and you're like, that's cool, that's brilliant. I used to fish for them, and you never really know I never used to catch them. I was used to fishing, and you think, wow, I've seen them, you see them up close. Yeah. That's just absolutely awesome, and that's why you dive. And I'll tell you another thing, what I really like about diving is actually getting students come in from you see them, they're nervous, we've had people nearly break down, because their nerves have got to them, and you hold the hand, and you, over the course of the weekend, you see them get stronger, more confident, and they go past their open water, and you're like, go on, go and enjoy it. And we've had this with a girl who a couple of years ago, I was on her open water. Then I think we did advance a while bit later, and she said to me that she was given a apprentice, I think in Thailand or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And as a instructor or dive master, I think at first. And she went off about a year later after doing loads of dives and elsewhere and stuff. And out there living the dream, in her early 20s. And I wish I had done that, looking back, because one thing about diving is you just never know where it's going to go.
You only have to look at those 3 girls that you had on at the beginning on the BiG Scuba podcast. One of them had that Rolex scholarship.
Yeah. Well, I think Grace, Scuba Grace, who we talked to, I think that's one of the things that she's hoping to do. You know, and I've never heard of that. It wasn't until we heard them talking at the Go Diving show and then had them on, and May was talking about her experience, and she spent time with Christina, which now spoke to Christina and got to know. Wow.
Last but not least, have you got any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to make whilst you've got the chance?
Listen, I'm probably going to forget loads of people who I shouldn't, right? So I'm going to say firstly, thank you for having me on representing the BiG Scuba Podcast, or if you want to look this up, we're also on YouTube as A Big Chat, all under the same umbrella. And also must thank to Gemma for being a great co-host, keeping me organised, always positive. Just, I wouldn't have wanted any other co-host. So thanks to Gemma as well. So and apart from that, thanks to our Patreons. Thanks to the bands who have given us music. Just thank you for everybody else who have listened to us. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to A Big Chat, and that's about it, really.
Right, buddy. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant.
Hopefully, I'll see you sometime soon.
We'll have to have another cup of tea and catch up. Cheers.
Ciao, mate. Bye-bye.
So that draws to a close the end of episode 3. We've talked to Ian from the BiG Scuba Podcast, talking about his life as a dive master, setting up the BiG Scuba Podcast, interviewing some of scuba diving's phenomenal characters that are out there, and touching on the negative and positive aspects of life in the public eye. In episode 4, we're interviewing Nick Robertson-Brown from Frogfish Photography about his life as an underwater photographer and all-round nature lover. You've been listening to Fancy a Brew with me, Andy the Northern Diver. You can find more episodes of scuba-related content on my YouTube channel. A link is in the description below. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and consider leaving us a 5-star review. If there's someone or something you'd like on the show, then let us know via the Facebook page listed in the podcast notes. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.